So I just spilled my tea all over the place, so take two. I am sitting down to review The Celebration by Ivan Angelo, and it is translated into English by Thomas Colchi, or Colchi, I'm not sure, but it's spelled C-O-L-C-H-I-E. That is the translator, and this is a Brazilian novel from 1976. It is split into two major parts, and if you look at the pages, you can actually see the split. The latter part of the book is dark. The beginning is lighter. So as I said, there are two major parts to this novel. The first is the events of a particular day in 1970 in Brazil, when a train carrying drought refugees from another part of the country that is intended to take them back to where they came from catches fire, purposefully actually. Someone sets fire to this train on purpose. These refugees obviously escape from the train because it's on fire. They end up wandering out into the city. The government tries to round them back up and get them back where they came from. But some party goers get involved in this, and people get arrested and tortured. Then the second part of this novel is the aftermath of this day, the aftermath of this fire, the aftermath of the mass arrests and torture. Our narrator is basically trying to piece together what occurred on this day and what happened to these people afterwards. Not only do we have these refugees who are caught up in it, but we also have party goers. There was a birthday party planned for the evening of this day. It seems the police force believed that there was a communist rebel plot involved with this fire somehow, and they implicate these party goers, and things kind of end up a mess. So we have murder, torture, sex, love, abandonment, and just general confusion. Our narrator, him or herself, I would assume himself, is an unknown. I understand him to be either a journalist or a writer of some sorts. Whoever they are trying to piece together exactly what happened, and no one seems to know for sure exactly what unfolded, but it is a bit of a puzzle, and you, as the reader, are trying to interpret these events as the novel unfolds. So as I said, we get short episodes from people's lives, and the episodes told in the first part are referred back to in the second part, and the narrator, Angelo, chooses to have the narrator use page numbers and character references. So, for instance, in this section, 151, page 151, there is a title that says, "A Northeasterner with a Dark Complexion, Marciliano de Matos," page 11. And if you refer back to page 11, you find this de Matos, and this is what the narrator discovered happened to this man. So, de Matos was imprisoned for 68 days. Witnesses who were jailed with him say that it was late on the night of June 5th or very early next morning on the 6th when he disappeared. One particular example that I liked reading, page 126 in here. Let me see if I can find it. But yeah, so the character first appears on page 126, and on page 206, the narrator returns to this character that was referenced earlier on page 126, and her name is Aurelia. Aurelia, abandoned by Marcella at the party, stopped going out with rich boys, found a serious partner, and got engaged. One night, the fiancé was there in the living room, eating cornmeal bread with coffee, when he heard on the TV an emergency call from Misericordia Hospital for donors of type O positive blood. He said goodbye to his fiancée and his future mother-in-law, gave blood, came down with an inexplicable case of tetanus, and died 2 days before the wedding. On Saturday, Aurelia began flitting about to the hairdresser, the seamstress, the manicurist, and finally her bath. Mother hardly paid attention to this or that request for help from her daughter, finding it strange that she should be interested in such petty diversions 2 days after the death of her fiancé, though of course Aurelia shouldn't just lock herself up in a room somewhere, dead to the world. So she suffered an incredible shock, fell into a chair and began weeping softly to herself when the daughter emerged from her room dressed as a bride at 4 in the afternoon. So a lot of these episodes relate to the incident itself, the incident with the refugees, but a lot of them don't. A lot of them are just the aftermath of the effects of the arrests, the arrest of people who had nothing to do with these refugees in the first place. Like I said, a lot of death, a lot of abandonment, a lot of sex and whatnot, and love. I really enjoyed this book. It was a good find. I picked this up at a used bookshop last week and read it yesterday and today. I have to admit, I very much like the cover. 4 solid stars on Goodreads, and I am going to find more by this author, more by Ivan Angelo, and I hope I am pronouncing his name right.